Oh, yo. Oh, we're live. Fuck.
All right, we're live. I'd like to welcome Jamie once again to this brand new time slot.
Yo.
We're trying something a little bit different today, just so maybe more people can tune in, especially in the Northern Hemisphere. And of course, you're Aussies, you should be up by now as well. So how are you feeling with this time change, Jamie?
It's a nice change of pace. I mean, now the sun's going down rather than going up as it usually is. I mean, the first couple of times we did lives, they were like at 6 a.m, I think, my time. But luckily I get up early as shit, so it was fine.
It's funny because we're both technically going to sleep because you're just waking up and still probably feeling a little bit groggy. And by 7 o'clock, my brain's shutting down. So for once, I actually feel a little bit more alert and alive. So hopefully we get a better.
Oh, I wake up on go. So you're fine. That's why I'm always like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like I'm good at any time. I could wake up and go. And the problem is usually that I cram for the thing right before it. And that's when, like, you can't cram for anything. You'll fucking forget everything right before you get up there. So
yeah, you've almost got to go into a bit of a Zen state before you do these sometimes and just completely empty your mind and go totally by flow and not be kind of overthinking it too much, because otherwise, yeah, you get paralyzed by the analysis. So why don't we just dive straight into it today with our level of bullshit judging decisions in bodybuilding history. This one could be a multi-hour podcast in itself. But if you've got any great suggestions out there, you please post them in the comments and ask any questions that you've got as well. And let's get straight into it. So let's pull up our. Did you want to have any preamble before we get into the pictures here, or?
So the concept is we're talking about the biggest, like, this isn't so much Olympia robberies because the Olympia was meaningless. Let's just remind everybody, until Terminator came out in the theaters, the IFBB was nobody gave a fuck about it. It was a tiny little nothing. And Terminator made that thing into something. But 1984 was the year. Before that, it was all NABA and WBBG and like all kinds of other shit. The AAU, Mr. America. But like there were a lot of different people out there. So people have been looking at my problem is people now think the Olympia is now the premier title. So people look back to 1967 thinking they're looking at the best bodybuilder on the planet in 1967, Mr. Olympia, or whatever year. And it's like, no, that's not how it worked at all.
Yeah, they were very small fry back then. And like you said, I think the Mr. Universe probably had a little bit more, I don't know, kind of star attraction than the Olympia itself, because he was kind of very scraping the bottom of the barrel just to get people to compete, as we will soon see. Maybe we can jump straight into it. This is one of your picks initially. So do you want to go through that?
Yes. Yeah. So this wasn't really I wasn't really trying to make too much of a statement. I just wanted to give people an idea of how fucking big Bill Pearl was. So I don't know how much he weighed in 1967, but in 1971, which is when I'm saying he was the best bodybuilder on the planet and people think Arnold was the best. No, I'm saying Bill Pearl was that guy. Like, he was the NABA Mr. Universe in 1971 and he looked fucking amazing. And Arnold ducked that one, didn't he?
I can't be 100% sure, but
I'm pretty sure that Arnold ducked that one and he beat Serge and Sergio.
Right.
He beat Reg Park and Sergio. And Arnold Arnold ducked the NABA Mr. Universe. And so Bill Pearl won that, and they never ended up competing against each other. That was supposed to be their big showdown, and it didn't fucking happen because Arnold went and did something else. So I'm just saying, like, that he was that guy. Like, oh, here we go.
We've already got a comment here. Somebody has donated $4.99. Thank you very much, VT.
Really thank you very much.
That's extremely kind.
Good looking out. Good looking out.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely agree with you. Like, Arnold, I think, was still roaring in his infancy. Bill Pearl was a little bit more established in his physique. Probably had that showmanship down as well from years of competing. And so in that year, in 1971, you have a picture from 1971 with Bill Pearl, right? Arnold was 6'2", 245, and Bill Pearl was at the Mr. Olympia. Arnold was 6'2", 245. That was his best condition.
Bill Pearl showed up at the NABBA Mr. Universe 5'9", 237. So that guy was way shorter than Arnold and damn near as heavy. And I mean, he looked phenomenal. So do you have that 1971 picture to go to?
I don't have an Arnold. I don't have a Bill Pearl Arnold one at the moment. But
but here you can see this is him beating Sergio Oliva and Reg Park at the NABBA Mr. Universe. And like, look how fucking big. He also looks mean as shit there, right? But look how big his legs are. His calves are huge. Like, that dude just looks monstrous.
Yeah. It's funny because I always thought Bill Pearl was a little bit taller, but 5'9". Yeah, he measures up there against Sergio, pretty much equal in height-wise. So, and he brings an appreciable level of mass as well. So, for Pearl to pull that off against Sergio and stand next to him, it shows how impressive the guy was and underrated at the time.
Dude, he's bigger than Sergio Oliva. Like, I look at that side shot. Like, Reg Park disappears from the side, and Bill Pearl looks like a fucking caveman who's about to eat those other two. Like,
and Bill Pearl was definitely a Mr. Universe favorite. Like, they loved him over there, so he could do no wrong, which is why, like, in one of his more controversial wins towards the end, he wouldn't pull certain poses, exactly like what Arnold did, like in the 1980. They told Arnold to hit like certain poses, and Arnold just wouldn't hit them. He would do something contra to that. And when the head judge or the head compere was instructing Bill Pearl, Bill, you got to hit this pose, Bill just turned to the head judge and said, "Don't be difficult," and just kept on doing what he wanted. So, funny story there.
Like, that is funny as hell. Yeah, that is funny as hell.
So moving to the next one there. Again, one of your perennial favorites there, Tony Pearson.
Oh, yeah. So Tony Pearson is, you can see him here at, he's the NABBA Mr. Universe in 1980. And he was the best heavyweight on the planet, like by far, I think. He's 5'8", 205. He's basically the same size and like the same size, but not same shape as Robbie Robinson. But this dude was called the Michael Jackson of bodybuilding. So you couldn't get, the guy could pose. Even he's still jacked now. Like, he's an old ass man. And like, he was posing it like 10 years ago. He was still posing. He did you just interviewed him recently, didn't you?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, he won the natural Mr. Universe competition, I think it was, during COVID time. So it's great that he's still getting after it and still keeping his physique, and just like Robbie Robinson and such, top nick.
Because, he looks fucking amazing, dude. His waist is tiny. He's got that crazy vacuum. Like, the dude looks awesome.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those underrated guys. The funny thing about Tony is when he won the Mr. America in 1978, that was a controversy in its own because he faced a guy called Ron Tufel. I don't know if you've ever seen him before.
Yeah.
Ron Tufel, probably, it's kind of like a sensitive topic, but Ron probably deserved a nod for that one over Tony. And a lot of people were very critical of Tony's Mr. America win in 78 because it was seen as almost like a political gift to Tony in terms of, just the racial implications at the time. So it was almost like construed that it was fixed for Tony to win, which was quite funny.
That's Ron Teufel or
Teufel, yeah.
Yeah. So this book, I paged through it so much. The pages keep falling out, but I love this fucking book so much. My Gold's Gym book of bodybuilding.
Yeah. It's impressive if you ever need a good old school book to refer to. Yeah, those old ones can't go wrong. Oof. So
at 185, he benched 440 for several strict reps at 185 pounds.
Who's that, Tony or Ron?
No, Ron.
Yeah, and Rod was livid. Like, on the stage, he was basically in a state of disbelief and shock that he didn't win because to him and a lot of other people, it was so obvious that he was dominant over Tony. So even though Tony came more into his own, I think Tony might have even competed naturally for the Mr. America at that time.
Okay.
But because if you see in this picture here, Tony told me that he was natural for the other one, for this one here. Not so much in his later contest.
He's so shredded in that picture. I can't, like, people are like, oh, you can't get shredded if you're natty. Oh, yeah. look at fucking Tony Pearson right here. Like that most muscular is sick.
Yeah, and when he was,
and I love that old school most muscular like that. It's such a badass looking pose.
Yeah, you don't see many people do the hands on hips one, but you're right. It is one of those more classic poses, and Tony pulls it off perfectly here. And it's really funny because in Tony's story, he comes to America, comes to California with no money, and he's basically homeless there for a while. He says that he's eating one meal a day, but he's still big and ripped enough to get noticed training on the beach by Arnold. So that Arnold kind of invites him into the inner circle almost and says, hey, I'm going to send you to Joe Weider. I'm going to have a couple of training sessions with you as well, which I thought was quite big of Arnold, because Arnold for once wasn't being a prick. And
yeah.
It kind of set
But
Tony
even
on a
Arnold
course.
recognized how fucking bad. Like, if Arnold was watching this right now, which wouldn't happen, but if he was watching this right now, he would agree. Like, Tony Pearson was a way better bodybuilder in 1980 than Arnold was. Like, he would never argue that.
If anyone can spot potential, it's definitely Arnold.
Yeah.
And for him to pick him out of a bunch of unknowns training on the beach and take him under his wing, I just sort of thought that was big of Arnold, but also quite prescient as well in his ability.
Yo, so morning iron history.
Yeah. Can you get leaner on natty than on gear? What do you think? I think with today's drugs, maybe it would help you retain mass and get you there quicker. But what do you think about that, Jamie?
I've never tried to diet like super hard while natty, so I couldn't. I mean, I've never been fat, so I don't fucking know. I don't know. I mean, but you look at Pierre Van Den Steen and you look at Tony Pearson, the answer it looks like yes. I mean, because they didn't care back then about like showing up the biggest motherfucker on earth. When they were showing up ripped, they showed up fucking ripped because they were running 5 miles in the morning and 5 miles before they went to bed, and then training twice a day. Like, all they did was lift and run. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, and I think like people might confuse the terms leaning and conditioning, because when you're contest conditioned, a lot of things can go wrong with the drugs that you implement around that time. So if you're adding in growth hormone and doing all these different strategies that they do, the conditioning gets thrown off, so you don't look as lean as what you actually are on stage. Because when you do look at the natural competitors when they're on stage, of course they look like concentration camp victims, but they're also bone shredded as well. But I also think that when you're dealing with 300-pound physiques, it's a little bit harder to dial in that leanness. So you probably do need a cavalcade of different drugs, and a lot of them do change the equation. Let's not fool ourselves. Especially with, did you ever try that DNP, Jamie?
Good God, no, man. I got a fucking brain in my head. No.
Yeah, I've never tried it. Yeah.
Jesus Christ. What the fuck are these kids doing? Like, it used to be just take a couple of D-ball and call it a day. And now everybody thinks they need like a kid of GH and this, that, and the other fucking thing. And it's like, yo, bro, you got to slow the fuck down. Like, how many times are you pinning a day? And they're just like, like it's an ever-growing list of shit you need to get big. And it's like, all right, well, I'm glad I went back to natty because you guys are all fucking dickheads.
Yeah,
like,
and think about it.
And it seems like a lot of pro bodybuilders back in the day did that too, where they were just like, oh, you know what? I wish I had never fucking done gear in the first place. These guys fucking suck. So that's where I am now.
Think back in Arnold's day, like, we talked about growing into the show the other day, so they were getting muscular and leaner at the same time. But think back to maybe like the gym floor scenes of pumping iron. How many cardio machines did you see in those shots, or in any of the gyms?
None, because they were running on the beach. Yeah,
they weren't even really doing cardio as they do it today.
No, people do cardio inside, and like people cannot believe that I walk to the gym every day, but I walk 1.5 miles to the gym, like alongside a busy road every fucking day. And I've been doing it for years because I know I will not do cardio otherwise. And it keeps me lean. And like I walk on the curb. So like I work on my ankle flexibility and shit like that. And like, it's fun. And it's way better than fucking doing cardio in the gym. Even when I show up to the gym soaked, which happens sometimes. So
that's right. And if you look at these two physiques here in terms of Tony Pearson and Robbie Robinson, I mean, that level of conditioning from both guys is as good as you'll ever want and good as you'll ever need, really. And those guys did it without all the frills and all the drugs and all the cardio machines. So it speaks volumes for what you can do without all these little peripherals.
And so Robbie Robinson was 1981 NABA Mr. Universe. He boycotted the 1981 Olympia. He's my pick for the 1981 best bodybuilder. Like, he's the uncrowned Mr. Olympia in my mind, because he was that bull. Like, Robbie Robinson is the shit. He and Tony Pearson just looked fucking amazing, as you can see there.
Yeah, I trained arms with Robbie Robinson about 7 or 8 years ago. I went to
that's fucking dope.
in Golds, and he took me through an arm workout. Then we went to lunch afterwards at the Firehouse restaurant. He told me all the juicy gossip,
dude,
leader and that.
That place is still open?
I never, I guess it is, but yeah, who knows these days with modern day California.
Well, tell everybody what that is for people who don't know what the Firehouse restaurant is.
It was almost like an institution back in the day. You could go there any time of the day. It was a restaurant that was just off, I suppose, like Venice Beach, next to the Gold's Gym. And all the bodybuilders, big name wrestlers, and even movie stars, you could walk in there any time of the day and you would see a dozen of these top names from all the magazines or the movies in there. All just, they had a bodybuilding oriented menu as well. So it was just like, heaven for bodybuilders, basically, in terms of food.
Yeah. That was where everybody ate back in the day. Like, and it was all like grilled chicken and eggs, and they had pancakes that were fucking banging too. That place was dope. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't remember the menu all that well, but I was there years and years ago. That was the first time that I met Chris Cormier, or Chris Cormier, however the fuck he pronounces his name. I didn't ask him when I hung out with him, but because I guess it's Cormier, right?
Yeah,
I don't know. We were drunk as shit. I wore his jacket the entire night. It was one of those like old school 8-ball jackets. He was the coolest fucking guy. Holy shit, that guy was nice. Yeah, we just went to like after hours hookah bars, drunk as fuck.
Oh, he liked to party, did our Chris. Famous stories about him, but
this was COVID. This was I was a VIP at the Arnold for 2020, and so nobody was allowed to go in except for the VIPs and the athletes. So I just got to go hang out with everybody.
Yeah,
it was dope.
Yeah, nice, awesome. So let's just get back to that slideshow thing for a second there. So what have we got here? So the next one, obviously, the one of the biggest controversies of all time was the 1980 Mr. Olympia.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, people were still very fragmented on their favorite show.
I mean, even that, like, Boyarko beat Arnold at his signature pose. Like, he beat him. He just beat him. Like, there is no like. Oh, Iron History cannot see us somehow.
Can you see us now? There's no Iron History. Continue on anyway, Jamie. It's all right.
Oh, sure. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to yell at my wife 1 second. I don't know if she heard me. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but in terms of the, people, obviously a lot of people that don't have a lot of bodybuilding knowledge in terms of how competition's judged always think that Arnold will be the best and always was the best. And a lot of people, even like Shawn Ray, he said that he would always pick Arnold as well. And there were a lot of bodybuilders, I wouldn't say a lot, but a few that even still give Arnold the nod. But I think it's just because of the intangibles that Arnold had in terms of his charisma, his on-stage appearance. I think the fact that nobody looked really that great that year, and the fact that he just stood out from past reputation, that's what gives him the nod, which in bodybuilding, because it's so subjective.
Nobody looked good that year. How about fucking Boyarko right there smoking Arnold at his signature pose?
Yeah, you are right. He was a front runner, but I don't know if he could ever be a winner of the Mr. Olympia.
And I mean, look at Ken Waller's striated quads while he's standing relaxed over there. Like that's Ken Waller, right?
That's Roger Walker. He was the Australian, and he was at his best. He hated Arnold after that because of it. He said look at his fucking quads. Like, that's a guy we need to delve into there. But yeah, I mean, so this was a shitty show, and it was it was not won by the best bodybuilder on the planet, because Tony Pearson would have smoked everybody on that fucking stage. Arnold's very famous comment after that, because he stormed out of there because the whole place was just erupting in boos. And he was very, I suppose, prescient about it, in terms of him reflecting on the contest, because he said that this will all blow over. people will forget about it. And at the end of the day, I'll still have won 7 Olympias for the record. So
Jesus Christ.
he's never one to eat humble pie as our Arnold, is he?
No.
But
I think now he can look back and be like, I was a fucking dickhead. Like, he's a chill dude. He hangs out with me.
Well, it's kind of funny about that, Jamie, because on his biography, that 3-part biography, he was going through all his Olympia history and all of his Olympia wins, and he was going year by year of which whenever. And then 1981 did not make an appearance on that show, and there was no comment given to it. Like CBS that took the original footage of that show and were planning on airing it because Arnold was supposed to be the color commentator for that year, refused to put that on and called the IFBB head honchos into the studio to task to comment on that absolute fucking debacle, because they said that even as non-bodybuilding connoisseurs, they could still see it was absolute dog shit that Arnold won. So whatever happened to that footage, whether Arnold bought it and binned it, is still to this day unknown.
Yeah, I mean, if you had the money and the ability to like whitewash your past, you probably would. So, I mean, I'd like anybody would. Like, I mean, anybody with the amount of money that like he has, where he could like buy a tank, and then like if you got tank buying money, you got whitewashing money. Like, you got to be rich as shit, but then you can be like, all right, I'm going to tell whatever tale I want. And so long as you're not still fucking up like, Donald Trump or somebody's, where like your past is going to catch up with you, like nobody's really going to run this down because it's not essential to anybody's life.
Where does he draw the line of the revisionism, though? Because you think at this sort of age, he could humbly look back and just kind of own his past mistakes. Like, and he does, obviously, with his ones he's definitely been caught out on, with fucking the maid and whatnot. But there's still certain things that he never addresses. And you sort of think that at this age, being a little bit more reflective, that he would just kind of like own it. But the guy is definitely Teflon coated, because in the era of cancellation, he's done a lot of his past and has never been called to task for it. So
that is true. Yeah.
But speaking of like absolute fucking travesties, the IFBB were very like conciliatory, because they knew the 1980 Olympia was a load of dog shit. And they kind of convened after that and sort of said, look, this can't fucking happen again because of the actual, the absolute uproar about it at the time. And then in 1981, it fucking happens again, but even worse this time with Gimpy here in the middle, winning.
I mean, that's cruel to say, because he broke his leg horrifically and being a badass. So for anybody who's never seen it, I don't watch people get injured, but I've saw it on accident. You can see it. So there was a refrigerator race in an early World's Strongest Man, and everybody else was walking with the refrigerator, and he just fucking started running with it. And he was smoking everybody. And then he landed heel first and his leg dislocated forward, and he just fell forward on his fucking leg. It was gross. So, I mean, he's a bad motherfucker, and let us not besmirch that act. But yeah, he should not have won this. He shouldn't even have competed.
He had a lot of gall to get up there in that condition, especially with the gynecomat, the obvious gyno in the pecs there. He wasn't as shredded as either Tom Platz or Danny Padilla. Padilla was in his best shape. I think Tom Platz should have walked away with it. I mean, look at that. Look at the difference in the poses there between Platz. I know that Platz had overly dominant legs, but I think he still made enough improvements in his upper body to win. But otherwise,
Padilla's legs were amazing, and his upper body was berserk. I got Padilla on that. Like, I think of those three guys, I personally have Padilla, but you got Platz. I love the disagreement. It's fun.
Yeah, no, Padilla, there's definitely a case that could be made from him, and maybe like a few years ago, I would have even given it the nod to Danny. I just sort of thought that he was probably, he's even shorter than Franco. I mean, look at him. So I think, a lot of the time the taller man does win, but in this case, obviously the worst guy on stage won for some unknown reason. And people
Danny
were
so good that year, though. His forearms are fucking huge. His arms are gorgeously detailed. He has huge shoulders. I mean, his pecs look amazing. Every inch of that dude looks awesome. His fucking legs, though, his legs were berserk. Like, if Tom Platz never existed, like, we still would have had Danny Padilla to look to with crazy ass fucking legs. I mean, the separation between his quads was berserk.
Yeah, and his conditioning that year, apparently he was on 800 calories for quite a few weeks leading up to that show. So
it was at least 2 weeks. Yeah, it was like 1,500 for like 4 weeks, and then or 6 weeks, and then for the last 2 it was 800 calories a day. So yeah. And he still did crazy cardio, 20 miles a day or something on the bike, and like training twice a day. And people just are like, oh, I can't be big and do this. It's like, well, why don't you fucking try it and see what you do?
And working,
you have to actually fucking try.
Business.
Yeah. Oh, did he? He was doing that too?
Yeah. So he wasn't exactly like tanning his ass on California Beach like everybody else. He's like in New York.
Oh shit! Damn. Yeah. Oh, and we weren't trying to make this a comprehensive list, but you did touch on the fact that Serge Nubret was banned from the IFBB, and he had to compete. So he started his own federation, the WBBG, which is where Tony Pearson got mentioned there, and Robbie Robinson. So he was kicked out, but why was he kicked out? And also, can you just touch on when he was supposed to be the Mr. Olympia, but the IFBB fucked him around and said he wasn't eligible?
Yeah, so the long story short of that, it was obviously Serge was in fantastic condition. If you looked at the photos for the Pumping Iron 1975 Mr. Olympia, Serge was,
which was one of Arnold's best years. He looked amazing in 1975.
But the thing is, 74 and 73 he looked even better, and because Arnold had officially retired after 74, but they had to kind of bribe him back with the whole Pumping Iron chance at stardom, because as Butler said, Butler and Gaines says that if you don't compete, you can't be in the film. So that's why you see Arnold also looking quite small at the beginning, because he had scaled down for that movie Stay Hungry, but also he was kind of out of the bodybuilding scene. But anyway, with Serge Nubret, Serge was in excellent condition, excellent size, much better than he showed in the film of Pumping Iron. The reason for that is because he was also gunning for the vice presidency of the IFBB, and in the Weider's eyes, that was absolutely a no-go, especially Ben Weider, who was an absolute tyrant, probably more so than Joe. So Ben Weider concocted the story that Serge was involved in porno films in Europe, which she never was. But you know, once you throw that shit out there, it sticks. So they banned Serge from that. Serge was no longer eligible to run for the presidency. But at the 11th of an hour, they let him back into the contest, obviously to give, I suppose, the lineup a little bit more depth than two competitors. Serge was, but he had not trained for the last 2 weeks because he was being fucked around and he had to be appealing these stupid things. And he was in South Africa, so he couldn't travel freely. It was fucking under apartheid. It was just right. He wasn't probably traveling on like the officially sanctioned IFBB buses, but even the black athletes still copped a lot of shit, even though they were under the IFBB banner. But yeah, so do you think it was Iron History asked, was this a racism thing? So was it a racism thing, or was it they were making Pumping Iron and they wanted to make Arnold the champion for the story? Arnold was always destined to win, whether he showed up in shape or not. He did look still good, but Serge was definitely fucked around a lot, so that he didn't even get the chance to show like his true package. But after that contest, Serge was banned. Do you think that was due to racism, like that, because they knew that sales would be lower if they had a black champion? Who knows with the Weeders, it's a hard one to kind of call. The fact that, but the funny thing is, Serge Nubret was the one that actually gave the IFBB the nod to hold the contest in South Africa, because he went over there and was wined and dined by all the top apartheid officials, even though he was black. So he was. Oh my God! That story just gets worse and worse. Oh well, I guess fuck him then. I like whatever. So Serge should have basically kind of laid down the principles at the beginning and said, you know what, you guys don't like blacks. Fuck you guys. We're not having a contest here. But money talks and bullshit walks. And at the end of the day, and then Joe Weider said something. I think South Africa was one of the first foreign country, like first non-US. It was one of the first countries that was admitted to the IFBB, right? And it was like the US, Canada, because it was founded in Canada, I think, the IFBB. So it was like the US and Canada and Britain, and but South Africa was pretty early on. And it was under apartheid that Weider was like, South Africa is one of the greatest countries in the IFBB. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Yeah, I think especially because of the apartheid rule, they were getting sanctioned by a lot of other sporting bodies. So it was the IPB were getting a lot of kind of sideways glances and rolled eyes that they were letting South Africa in. But obviously, you know, South Africa were throwing a lot of money at the IPB at the time. So how could they refuse?
And I guess when the darkest man on earth says, I guess we can have it in there. That thank you, babe. I guess when like the world's darkest man says, I guess we can have it in this super racist place, then everybody's like, I guess okay. I mean,
yeah.
If he vouched for it, I'm gonna grab the soda. All right. And we're back.
All right. So this next one was kind of one of my picks because I think there was just a little bit of controversy in 84 when Haney won that Olympia, because the previous year in 83, Muckaway had beaten Haney quite a few times. I think he just had, you know, much more pleasing shape. His posing was a lot better. And then when Haney won, it was kind of like, all right, yeah, well, he's obviously the taller, bigger man. But I think there was still a little smidgen of controversy that Muckaway could have possibly edged out Haney that year. So that was one of those question marks. It's not talked about a hell of a lot, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Okay.
Haney was kind of like, I think, like, you know, we talked about him before, but he was definitely that bridge between bodybuilding and classic. So he kind of was that crossover from Arnold's era into the new era. But yeah,
I see what you're talking about. Yeah, he has the higher quads and I see what you mean. Can almost do a vacuum. Yeah, but McAway, like, he was a much smaller guy. He looks amazing. He was one of those U200 guys, right?
Oh, absolutely. But he was actually trained by Vince Gironda, so he kind of come under his umbrella there. I know how much you love Vince Gironda, but we won't.
I mean, he produced great bodybuilders. He was just a dickhead, like, you know.
Yeah. McAway's another one of those ones that's totally disavowed the sport. Like, say, for example, like Bob Paris. He will never speak about or mention bodybuilding in a breath again to anybody unless it's in a negative fashion. And McAway's the same. He's totally cast away any association with bodybuilding. So it's kind of a shame that we've got no links to accessing his, you know, stories and his history to the sport, because he was definitely one of those pivotal figures. Speaking of Paris, the 1985. Obviously Paris wasn't in the opportunity to
look
win
at him.
this.
Good
look at him.
God, look at him.
Guess what placing he got in the 85 Olympia? This is after he admitted that he was gay.
What?
9th.
What?
Back of the pack. Yeah, unbelievable.
So who's the guy on the left? That guy looks he looks like the world's most ripped pro wrestler. He looks like Rowdy Roddy Piper, but fucking shredded.
Yeah, I can't kind of see, you know, in that one there. Yeah.
And then that's is that your Australian guy again on the blonde guy?
No, he wasn't in that one, but I don't think. Let me just check. The blonde guy's Tom Platz. This one here. The one on the very far right.
No, not on the right. So going left to right, we got guy you know. Yeah. We got
not quite sure.
Not Roddy Piper.
Is it Bob Bird song? I'm not quite sure.
I don't know what. No.
Yeah, Bob Bird. Yeah, old school bodybuilder. That's Bob Bird song. Yeah, I was correct.
Oh, okay. I had no idea he had blonde hair. I've only seen black and white pictures of him.
Okay, tell us about your perennial uncrowned champion.
Oh God! Look at Gary Strydom. Can we just look at him right now? Like, God damn!
Just don't tell him to turn around, though, Jamie.
Yo, you could tell him whatever you want, because who gives a shit what his back looks like? Because look at his front. All right, who gives a fuck what his back looks like? He could. And it's not like he's not like one of those old West movie towns that like is just a fake structure with nothing behind it. Like, he had a back and it wasn't terrible. It just was not as good as his front, because how the fuck could it be? Look at that. Nobody's ever had a most muscular like that. Like, and he still looked like a hot man when he was like, when he'd walk down the street, women threw themselves at him because he was an attractive dude. Like, that doesn't happen to fucking bodybuilders now. Nobody wants to fuck those guys.
He was a South African as well, Jamie. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he had those like Scott Wilson delts on him. The front just is unparalleled, I think, for the time. He looked fantastic.
The front is unparalleled, period, in history. Like, name a better, most muscular than his. It's berserk. Like, that's not even fair. Like, Lee Haney wouldn't even wanted to stand on stage with him, but they couldn't because they were in two different federations. Because Gary Strydom was the one-time WBF Grand Prix champion in Vince McMahon's breakaway bodybuilding republic, and he paid the price for it. That Weider fucked him when the WBF folded. So he never got to fucking be the Mr. Olympia. But in that year, he would have trashed Lee Haney.
Yeah, because do you remember that Strydom competed in the 1988 Mr. Olympia, but he got 5th. So that was before the WBF appearance.
Yeah, but I think he was like a rookie. Or it was like really fucking early. He was young as shit, and he took 5th.
Yeah, so...
he does kind of look like super huge Tom Cruise. Dude, if you look at a video of him, like there's even a GIF that I had on like that I posted on my site of him like flexing his bicep, and you could literally see women in the background going, and women don't give a fuck when guys flex usually, but that guy's hot as shit, or was like in the 90s. He was so attractive. Any person of any sex was like, oh, whatever you like, sir. And yeah, nobody gave a fuck about his back except for I don't know who.
So in relation to that, so what do you gents think of the saying that shows a 1 from the back? It seems to hold true all the time.
That's a fucking saying invented by Dorian Yates. Because I mean, Lee Haney had the best back on stage, possibly some of the time, but for all, how many times did he win? 6, 8? 7, whatever it was.
Lee Haney won 8 times, but I suppose Dorian says that because he was beaten by Muhammad bin Aziza, in one of his first outings, and that's because Dorian lacked the back that Muhammad had. So Dorian brought up his back considerably, and then basically, Dorian became Backzilla from that point on. And then
Arnold had no fucking back. Larry Scott's back was okay. It wasn't great, but it was pretty good. But like they didn't have like huge backs. It happens to be whatever's in vogue at the time. And like in the early 90s, most musculars were in vogue. Like the people who were winning were the people with a great most muscular.
Yeah, and I think even last year's winner, that Derek Lunsford, if you've seen him, that 5'7" guy who beat Hardy Chupin, who's like the
I don't pay any fucking attention to those weirdos. That's not even that's just the weirdest thing in the world to me. They're just filled with fucking weird fluids, and it's gross.
Again, Derek won because of his back over Haney's maybe dominant front poses. So again, sometimes it does hold weight that shows R1 from the back, but yeah, it's
do you remember when Flex Wheeler got implants in his calves? The furor that it caused.
That was Escaline.
Oh, okay, whatever. But like when that happened, people went crazy. Like they went crazy. And now it's like, all right, yeah. Oh, that's all. They just do it to every muscle. So it's like
part of the course. Yeah.
Yeah. Was he the first one to do that? Like the first major name to do it?
Escaline was still fairly widely used back then. It was one of those things that kind of was shot pre-contest before he got on stage, and it was like an inflammatory drug, so it inflamed the muscle that you were injecting it into. Apparently it was quite painful, but I don't think he was the first to use it, but it was obviously one of the more noticeable ones, especially in how the night and day difference it made to his calves. But then again, it was rumored that Arnold just went whole hog and went calf implants, and everybody from Rick Drayson to Tom Minicello, a lot of people have said that, because remember Lou Ferrigno also had the calf implants too.
Lou Ferrigno had calf implants?
Yep.
Holy shit. I had no idea. But so again, it was an article I couldn't read because it was on Medium and it was pay only. But you had a quote from Sergio Oliva about Dorian Yates, and it was something like he's a cow with no arms.
I think he said, a cow with no arms or a pig with no arms or something like that. That's exactly what he said.
That's pretty fucking accurate. He looks like shit. That's when I was like, when I would just like have my picks in bodybuilding, because that's kind of how it was in the 90s. Like you didn't really care who the champ was because like they just kept recrowning the same piece of shit. But like you could get really invested in some of the guys in the magazines because they were fun. Like Mike Matarazzo, and like everybody had a personality, and they like kind of had a gimmick a little bit but like a kind of a pro wrestling gimmick a little bit. But it was fun. And like Roland Sherlock was weird as hell and had a crazy physique. And like, there was just a lot of, what's that?
He was underrated.
He really was. But like the 90s were a really fun time for bodybuilding if you didn't pay attention to the top guy. But I think 1994 might have also been the year that Gary Taylor won the World's Strongest Man, like a month after he tore his bicep. And I have it from a guy who apparently knows things, that he took a kit of GH a day, because he had some guy just giving him a kit of GH a day. And then he won the World's Strongest Man. Like, it was just a crazy story. But like the 90s, they got weird. Like Curtis Leffler was in the World's Strongest Man looking like a bodybuilder, but like a bodybuilder. He looked like if Dave Palumbo did World's Strongest Man. That's exactly what it looked like. He had the exact same bizarre, weird, squiggly line, vein look. Oh my God. Purple as shit. Yeah, it was a weird time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny with Palumbo's physique, especially because he was one of the first deformities, that kind of kicked off that trend. And now that trend is just par for the course. But Dorian, of course, please know this. Dave Palumbo was a running joke in bodybuilding year after year after year, because it used to be very, very, very hard to get your pro card. So every year he would just lose over and over and over. And he just coming back bigger and with a bigger forehead and more purple and more veins and more purple and bigger and veinier. And his face was starting to get weirder and weirder. And like, finally they were like, fine, here's your card. Just please stop. Just go away. Please stop. I don't think he ever got the pro card. And
he didn't? Okay.
Palumbo, it has the distinction as being the only bodybuilder and perhaps the only athlete in history to have a physique malady named after him. People even today,
does he really?
No, people know the word Palumboism, which describes a bodybuilder with, shrunken, atrophied arms and limbs, and that grotesquely, like a melted wax candle, he looks like, basically. So well done, Dave.
But Dorian really looks like that too. There were a couple of those guys in the NPC who just but they were like our little freak show, and that's how the magazine treated them too. Like the magazines all were like, look at what these fucking two mutants are doing, and then they just, then there was like back to the normal people, and like. So, and I unintentionally insulted this guy in the comments on a post about Doug Young the other day, because I was saying that in the 90s. Nobody gave a fuck about powerlifting. Like, even I did a push-pull meet in, 1996 or something like that, in a bar when I was straight edge. And nobody in there was a powerlifter. I didn't even meet a powerlifter until like 1998 or something like that. And then the guy was horrible and nobody spoke to him. And we ended up leaving the gym because he was such a fucking creep. Gary Taylor, isn't he yes. I think I have the name right. I didn't prep my World's Strongest Man. There was a World's Strongest Man. It was right around 1994. Tore a bicep right before the World's Strongest Man. Right a month before. Took a kid GH every day. I may be misremembering the name, but there you could see he clearly has a very fucked up bicep in that thing. I think it was wrapped the entire time. What wrapping your bicep? I don't know how he didn't fuse all his bones, because I tore my bicep at the same time that another, like, he was a lawyer. He was a big time lawyer and a power lifter. He tore his bicep at the same time. And I was competing 3 months later and he was in a cast. And I was like, how the fuck did you get back you're in a cast? How the fuck did this happen? And he was like, oh yeah, I blasted GH too soon. And then it fused all my bones. I guess you waited. How long did you wait? And I was like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. What? And that's when maybe he might've been the person who told me the Gary Taylor story. But yeah, apparently there's a timing issue, and it can't be like there's 3 days or 7 days that it takes the muscle. I don't fucking know. I don't know. I'm not a
that you bounced back very quickly from that injury, and you spoke about it in some of your articles, which was quite impressive because you really did just work around the fucking thing. And I remember, that your recovery was quite quick. But I'll just put this picture back up again, mate. So, like, this is the 1990s.
Shawn Ray is probably, I mean,
it was quite controversial.
There's no statute of limitations on grand theft. Well, no, there is. So he can't press charges against Dorian Yates or the judges in that. But I mean, anybody who would give the Mr. Olympia to the guy on the left instead of the guy on the right is an insane person.
Dorian's justification for that is he says bodybuilding is judged on individual mandatory poses. So if you went through pose by pose, he makes a case for it, sort of saying that he is the dominant in most of those poses. He might lose one or two here and there, but he still comes out with the score, which
has a 40-inch waist.
It's grotesque, isn't it? That particularly that shot there.
Do you have a side shot of them? I would love to see one. I tried to. What's up, Ben Lord? What's happening? It was Greg Kovacs. That was the other mutant. It was Dave Palumbo and Greg Kovacs. And then like Greg Kovacs shot Synthol into his shoulders all fucking weird. And like one was huge and the other one was droopy. And yeah, it was a whole thing. It was a weird time. That's when we all started going, I don't know if this is something I want to be involved with.
And maybe, as you've said before, mate, like the fact that Dave Palumbo is still among the living is one of those marvels of modern medical history. You know, like
it is astonishing. It is astonishing. Like, is he a vampire? That could be. I mean, he kind of looks like one. Maybe, I don't know. He's a very odd looking man. He's odd.
Yeah, is he a vampire? For bodybuilding judging, they do tend to change a little bit here and there over time, but yeah, it's they don't score the posing round, for example, anymore. Apparently, calves aren't judged anymore either. But yeah,
they aren't?
Down to muscularity in the individual poses, and I suppose whether the judges really want to win. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's still so subjective.
Well, so back in the 90s, because like we used to go. This was a very different time. But if you guys can imagine at the gym where I used to train, World's Gym, it didn't matter what kind of lifter you were because we were all just kind of like lifting heavy. And but we would go to like somebody did a weightlifting thing or a strongman thing or a bodybuilding thing or a powerlifting thing. Everybody went. Like all of the big time lifters went. We had a guy who this guy got run over by an airplane, ran him over. Because he was a combat air controller and he was driving in between a civilian airfield and a military airfield, and the Cessna bounced off the tarmac in the civilian airfield and smashed into his Jeep as he was driving down the highway, and he had fucking all this glass in his head and shit, and every time this is a week out from his meet and he's gonna bench. He wanted to bench 660. He ended up benching 600 with literal glass popping out of his head as he's benching, blood pouring onto the fucking bench. It was amazing, but he did it natty. It was cool as hell. But like, so we went to watch that guy lift, and we went to bodybuilding shows. And so it was always this thing with the bodybuilders, like they couldn't tell if they had to be ripped or if they had to be big. And it was literally, it was a flip of a coin. Like you didn't know what the judges were going to ask for when it was just like dealer's choice. And when you get there, you're either in or you're fucked. And that's how it worked. And I don't know how they fucking did it, but they decided somehow. And there was always a guy in the crowd who clearly was just like, nope, I'm not going to fucking do it this time. And he clearly would have won. I mean, just dwarfed everybody, was ripped as hell, and just like sitting in the back looking all casual. So, but yeah, so our whole gym would go and do that. And then we'd all go out and party afterwards and go get pizza. And like, it was a fucking thing. It was, and like with the bodybuilder or whoever, that's how I got to sort of hang out with Craig Titus once. It was not cool, but.
And they even have, like, in regards to the guidelines for bodybuilding judging, they used to have this weird predilection for the fact of paying your dues. So even if you were like a brand new, like say like Roland Sherlock, for example, his first Olympia appearance, he had a fucking phenomenal physique. And I know the depth of the lineup was huge anyway.
He had weird abs, though. And that's why I just excused my weird abs for the longest time rather than trying to figure out how to get him to Danny Padilla, which is what I've been trying to do. But yeah, so I just leaned into the weird abs. And I think that hurt him. Like, but holy shit, can you just put up a picture of him like in some of those short jean shorts? Because he was always in short jean shorts. They were some of the least straight photographs anybody has ever had taken of them. And I mean, this was in an era of baby tiny shorts and everybody just looking very goofy. But like this guy took some funny ass photo shoots.
Yeah, I'll try and find one, but I know exactly the ones because he was on the cover of Flex magazine in those denim shorts. I think it was a German fashion trend back then. So, but in terms of weird abs, like Arnold had weird abs. Some of the top names didn't have.
Yeah, I guess Boyarko only had 2 abs, really. But But so it's not it's not about who ignoring body parts. It's about which body parts they are placing emphasis on, because that changes over time, and the shape of bodybuilders has changed over time because we started looking for different things. So, I mean, back in the day, like in the 50s and 60s, they wanted a bigger upper body and a smaller lower body. Like that was aesthetic. And over time, they grew larger, and then they stopped emphasizing. I mean, they don't look at forearms at all anymore. Do you see bodybuilders trading forearms? I mean, bodybuilders have pencil thin necks, tiny forearms, usually. I mean, there's Flex Wheeler, not Flex Wheeler, Flex Lewis, who has like 30. I've never seen forearms that big in my life before. He has the biggest forearms I've ever seen.
Yeah. The guy from the Animal Pack ads, he used to have, I forget his name, but he used to have some fantastic, Frank McGrath. He had fantastic. Yeah.
He's dead, right?
Well, no, he's still kicking.
Oh.
Yeah. Surprisingly enough.
Art abs did look. Yeah. That was the 90s were weird. We had weird Nasser. Speaking of abs, like, that was a guy who had a very cool physique, and he had, how many PhDs does that guy have? And he speaks like every language that there is, right?
Yeah, he was hilarious. If you've ever caught him on some of the outtakes from these bodybuilding interviews, he's just the most surly, aggressive, doesn't give a fuck about what he's saying to anybody, anywhere. It was a total character, judging from the stories that came in after his death and well after he retired, but he didn't take shit from anybody. That's NASA. But I think in 97 there's a big controversy that he should have beaten Yates. The argument for Yates was that Yates always had him in the back shots. Again, Olympia's a one from the back apparently. But okay,
yeah. And here's another thing we need to mention, that there were different I don't know how you would classify them. They had different kind of archetypes for bodybuilders. So with Osage, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Osage saying you can't be symmetrical by ignoring some muscle groups. It's ridiculous. There were different types of bodybuilders, and they were sort of judged differently from one another. So they didn't have specific classes. But these two were both mass monsters, and they judged mass monsters very differently from the way they judged the aesthetic guys like Flex Wheeler and Shawn Ray. And then you had different guys who fell somewhere in between. And I think that's where they got fucked in placings, because they were like being judged on 2 different sets of criteria. You know what I mean?
So in saying that, Jamie, do you think that the separation in the division of the physique, the classic physique these days, the 212s, the men's board shorts division, do you think that was a intelligent or a move forward for bodybuilding, or do you think it just kind of fragmented the open division more, creating less quality overall in the lineups?
I think, well, when bodybuilding and powerlifting and all that shit became a money-making enterprise, for like, they make money off entrance in their contests, so they are. The whole thing just because and I was in the time when people started to say, if you didn't compete in something, you didn't do it. So you couldn't call yourself a bodybuilder if you didn't compete in bodybuilding, even if that's what you did. You just called yourself a lifter. I'm just a lifter. So unless you were competing in powerlifting or competing in Olympic weightlifting, I mean, we never saw any of those fucking people. They were somewhere else. I don't know where the fuck they were. I mean, they weren't in any of the magazines. We never, unless you were in a gym that had Powerlifting USA, you never fucking saw a powerlifter before like 2005. I mean, you just didn't fucking see them, because they didn't even have gyms that could accommodate powerlifting. This wasn't that long ago, but like, you couldn't find a gym with a power rack. You would find a gym with a very fucking flimsy rack or a gym with a staircase rack. But those were your 2 options. If you could find a squat rack, there was no deadlifting. There was no chalk. And when I say no chalk, I mean, if you brought chalk into the gym, that was it for you. You were never going into that gym again, ever. ever. And they would make you fucking clean it up as they like got rid of your membership.
Yeah, so now that more people are joining the podcast, please put your comments of who you sort of think some of these controversial decisions are, of any of the ones that we haven't touched on so far. And if you disagree or agree with some of our opinions or comments, make sure you throw them in there. All questions are welcome as well. We touch on everything. So I thought we'd go to this next one here. It's a little bit more modern. So you probably
wait. Osage makes a great. He makes a. I thought the idea was to look like the Sandow statue. Well, isn't the Sandow statue Robbie Robinson?
That was the bust of Joe Weider.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but no, that's long since gone. That was just because he was kind of they considered the OG bodybuilder.
Benjamin, you're late to the party, mate. We've already discussed the famous 1980 Arnold win, and
yes,
you might have to catch that one on the replay. But
yes, tragically, we are in the 90s now.
This is actually 2002, so Ronnie's already got a couple of Olympias under his belt.
And again, we're in the mass monsters again, because this was Gunter Schlierkamp was the mass monster. And I'm glad you brought this up, because I love Gunter. You guys can see him in Beer Fest if you want to look at an old movie.
Yeah, Gunter was one of those breath of fresh airs, because, he had the personality, he had the smile, he even had hair, which was by the 2000s a rarity for a white bodybuilder. But he had that extreme level mass as well that was very pleasing to the eye. Unlike
he was the next Arnold. That's what everybody thought. Like, that's what we were going to get. And they never gave him the title.
How about Lee Priest? Because I know that you're a big fan of his physique. And although he was short, he was obviously pound for pound one of the bigger guys on stage. He never really got any higher than 6th, I think. And after that, his placings just kind of fell precipitously. He won a few of the minor shows like the Ironman and the here and there. But do you think he was one of those kind of unrewarded Olympia potentials?
That dude was my fucking hero, because, we're both like the same height. So, like, yeah, Lee Priest is a shit. And, I mean, he's a fucking lunatic, but I don't agree with him on everything he says, or a lot of the things he says, but I've always looked up to him as a lifter. I met him once. I was talking to Greg Valentino, and he walked up, and that's how I got to meet him. So, that was fun, but he was a really nice guy, and his forearms, I mean, it's hard to describe forearms like those guys' forearms. Flex Lewis and Lee Priest have the fucking, no matter how long and hard you train your forearms, they will never look like their forearms. And it's hard to even, I don't have anything to describe it. It's like a ham, like a fucking ham, a whole ham as their forearm. It's insane.
It's like a leg. It's like a human leg, literally.
It's fucking crazy.
Back in 97, I was walking down the street on my first trip to America.
Marcus Rules, another mass monster. Richard said in the
yeah. But back in 97, I was walking down the street in California, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this massive cartoon figure walking down the street, and it was Lee Priest. So, being from Australia, I had to chase him down and get a photo with him. And this is all pre-tattoos, still at the height of his physique game. And, yeah, he was just a really nice guy back then as well, and I think very
really nice guy. Yeah. And, apparently, like, a race car driver and shit, and, like...
Yeah, he was multifaceted, He wasn't kind of like one of the boring personalities. He had a lot kind of going for them, not only in terms of physique, but that also kind of helped his longevity and his marketability in the sport, because he didn't really have to compete to make a lot of money, even though he blew most of his money. But in regards to the 2002, Ronnie was going for a strategy of trying to actually get more shredded this year, and it really fucking backfired on him hard. And a lot of people think, just even judging by this shot here, that Gunter should have won. And there's a case to be made that 2002 Ronnie was really off.
Oh, yeah. Ronnie's waist, and that was always the thing. People were like, how the fuck is he winning? That's why we were all going, who fucking cares who's a Mr. Olympia? Like, that's not the guy. Like, Mike Matarazzo, I felt like beat him at everything, and they never gave that fucking guy the title, but Ronnie just kept getting the fucking title. It didn't make any sense. So, I don't know. Marcus is your favorite bodybuilder? That's cool. I would say he's really unaesthetic. Like, he was one of the first guys where he's like, fuck it, I'm just going to get as big as I can. Doesn't even care what I look like. I genuinely don't care what I look like. I'm just going to keep getting bigger.
He was definitely just pushing that freak angle in terms of his marketability. But Old School says,
but that was the gimmick. And that's nothing against him. I'm not dragging the dude. Like, that was the gimmick. Like, you would just do that thing. Like, I'm just trying to get as fucking big as I could. But now that's all anybody does. They just get grotesquely huge and don't give a shit what it looks like.
It's an interesting point that Old School Bodybuilding makes here, because he says that Joe Weider wanted as few Olympia names as possible on the winners list. And the trend that's changed recently is that the title is switching backwards and forwards between people year after year. And there's no longer that you have to knock the champion out to defeat him. It's literally the subjective best person wins on that day, which is kind of a nice change, because it definitely has shaken things up and making it more exciting. So you saw Phil Heath lose his title. You saw Brandon Curry lose his title. You saw Hardy Chupin lose the title. And when new blood kind of continually kind of takes over that top spot, it definitely makes
Brandon Curry's also a super nice guy. Like, if my wife's ever on, she will just say all day long how he's such a sweetheart. I think she drank with him or something.
Well, another strange coincidence of life is I sat next to him on a bus when I was in America. So, like, I just took the next available seat, and fucking sitting there was Brandon Curry, and we just had this like hour-long conversation before I got off at my stop. So, just serendipity works in strange ways, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Lee
another
Haney
one
over Ronnie Coleman. I wonder why more people don't talk about him as much as Ronnie. Because Lee Haney was boring, and his physique was kind of boring. Nothing against Lee Haney. He's a very, very nice man. I'm not dragging the man at all, but I never gave a shit about Lee Haney. Again, in the 80s, it was just like they just kept handing him the title. It didn't matter who showed up with what kind of physique or whatever. There was just like, going on fucking Lee Haney again. Who cares? So we really didn't pay attention.
Even though the physiques were much nicer in the 80s, I feel he was competing against a lot of shorter, smaller guys. Like, he was kind of like the only fairly tall, big guy in the lineups a lot of the time. So Lee Haney just always seemed to automatically get the nod. You know, his closest competitor for so many years was like Lee Labrada. You know, so Lee Labrada was 176 on stage versus like Lee Haney's 250 or whatever it is. But I think the reason why they talk more about Ronnie Coleman is because Ronnie Coleman competed in a bigger depth of field of the guys.
Yes.
You know, so he was beating actual somebodies, whereas Lee was, I hate to say it, kind of beating not nobodies, but definitely not as rich as the 90s lineups were. So
Weo talks out there, and he's in that all caps. He's doing the all caps, John, right now. Slow down, buddy.
Tony Pearson wouldn't have cracked the top 8.
Oof.
For what year are you talking about there, Weo? Agree with Jamie about Haney. How many Olympias do you think Arnold, Franco, Yates, and Ronnie truly deserve to win? Well, Arnold won a lot of his by default. Franco probably won.
Yeah, I didn't count them all. I really didn't count them all up. I mean, with Yates, Jesus Christ, they could have given anybody else. I mean, Flex Wheeler should have beaten Yates.
Or 95 as well. I'll give him 3.
Oh, go ahead. What do you got?
Oh, I was going to say Yates, 92, 93, and 95. They're the only 3 I think that he truly deserved. The rest were very questionable. Ronnie, I kind of checked out of bodybuilding by that time because I just sort of thought this is getting boring, repetitive, and uninteresting. Yeah. Ronnie wasn't an interesting champion, and I hate to say it about the guy because he probably is legit very nice, but he kind of set the bodybuilding stereotype back about 60 years whenever that guy opened his mouth, because he just came across as a dumb meathead fucking... Remember his appearances on TV with Jay Leno, and he was wearing the fucking flippers and chasing that guy around in the sand, and
I didn't even know he was on Jay Leno.
It was kind of an embarrassment all the time. I just sort of thought, fucking hell, Ronnie, like, rein it in. And when he went on Rogan, he was saying he's minus 3% body fat. And I sort of thought, the sad thing is you're not even trying to be ironic or you know, that's just, I think, the intelligence level. But
he was, I mean, again, in the 90s when he was winning, we were all paying attention to other bodybuilders. Nobody gave a fuck. It was just like they were going to give him the title. Nobody fucking cared. We all had our picks. I bring up Mike Matarazzo because, that guy was a fucking monster who never gets talked about. But I mean, there were so many great bodybuilders at that time who were not getting their due. Kevin Levrone was another one. I mean, that guy, twice he got second when he easily could have been first. And the dude was a monster. And he trained up for the Olympia like the old school guys did. So he would go from being a rock guy and then like at 200 pounds and then put on like 40 pounds and show up huge and like a golden god. I mean, I didn't root for him because he was annoyingly pretty. He looked like a fucking bronze statue. It was fucking bullshit. Like, how does somebody look like that?
And I think like the 2000s were like the beginning of when we started to look backwards in time for our inspirations and our aspirations in terms of bodybuilding. We no longer sort of thought that this was in any way attainable, in any way pleasing to the eye, or in any way interesting, because the personality started to get precipitously boring as well as with the physiques. And I think that was because we, or at least with these magazines, had great staff writers in terms of the guys that were dressing up their personalities and making the people seem interesting. Because then when the magazines started their decline, because of the internet becoming more popular, we started to see these guys for who they were. And that's where they were kind of quite boring and just two-dimensional.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And, it was such, it's so weird how and I sound so fucking old saying this because 25 years does seem like a long time, I guess, in retrospect. But in the last 25 years, lifting has changed so dramatically. It's hard to even describe what it was like 25 years ago to people and give them an accurate description.
Yeah. And this is another guy in terms of like the 2007 Olympia. But after Ronnie, you then had the reign of Jay Cutler, and he was really dry and boring in terms of his personality. These days, he's much different. He's come completely out of his shell, and he's probably one of the beacons of bodybuilding in terms of interesting people to listen to. But when he beat,
oh my God! Every time he came through the gym, people would get excited, and for one time, and then when he'd come through again, it'd be like, oh, fucking Jay Cutler's here again. Okay,
yeah, and even his physique,
it's like having a potted plant who lift weights. Kind of. I mean, he didn't even lift weights. Like when he was lifting, it wasn't interesting to watch. He didn't look like he was having fun at all.
Yeah. Well, Jay looked and probably felt the entire time like he was doing it under duress and looked totally miserable. And again, he wasn't one of those at the time great ambassadors for bodybuilding in terms of making it appealable to anybody beyond that niche subculture.
His physique is terrible. It's terrible. His arms are terrible. It's just terrible. It's every bit of it's terrible. It's all terrible.
Yeah. So that actually took longer than expected. And I think, like I said, we could have done a multi-hour show on the amount of bullshit decisions that have littered bodybuilding.
Oh, yeah, that was by no means comprehensive. It was like we were trying to come up with it.
I actually expected more kind of pushback or contributions in the comments from people, because everybody has their robbery or their bullshit decision that they most hate. But I think we covered.
Wow, look at Dr. Tex coming in with the fucking hot takes here. Shit, hot takes. I don't know. Can you put up a picture of the two of them? I mean, they both were disgusting to look at. So really, it was like, who do you want to look at the least? And then there was also Paul Dillette, who could barely stand up on stage because his diuretics were killing him in front of us. And they were all just heaving wrecks. If you ever meet a bodybuilder at the Olympia, they are a wreck. They are a shell of a human being. They're not back in the day, they would walk in off the street and do the show. There was a guy came on voyages who had to travel from Hawaii, and it took a fucking week on small planes and shit for him to get to the Mr. America. And he still took fourth or something like that. Nobody could do that now.
Yeah, I think that's the tragedy of the sport as well, because when say Benjamin's put here, the greatest bodybuilder ever was Bob Paris. Remember when these guys used to get in suits for the bodybuilding conference that they have, the press conference, and they all look like fucking male models. The Barry DeMay, they look so great in their suits, but they were so articulate and well spoken. Their personality shone through because of their exposure in the mags. And yes, I think when bodybuilding lost its way after that.
Kevin Levrone looked like he could have swindled so much money out of old ladies. He looked like he had that Billy D. Williams type charm, and he could have just, if he wore a Lenny Kravitz type outfit, that man would never, he probably never will be without money because he's too good looking. And again, he didn't bodybuild to kill himself. He bodybuilded because he enjoyed it. and he was good at it.
He was multi-dimensional as well. He wanted to pursue acting, and he was in that rock band, and he wrote music on the side, and he had like a little bit more perspective to him. VT's put, to go back a bit, there's a fellow in Brazil, Rudy, in his 80s today, was part of Muscle House by the Sea. He was there with Steve Reeves and others. Oh, that'd be interesting to get a few stories with him. If you could put him in touch with us, that'd be great. Kevin Leverone, 2000 got robbed for the Olympia. Yes, that's a good point.
That Muscle House by the Sea thing is awesome. When I posted that video the other day at Muscle Beach, there was a little bit about Muscle House by the Sea, and that is in and of itself a difficult thing to describe. Do you know anything about that place?
No, that's the first time I've heard about it. I thought he might have meant just actual Muscle Beach, but no, Muscle House by the Sea. No, I'll have to.
We'll have to cover it in a different time, because it was a literal flop house, which means that it was basically a huge room that had a kitchen in it. And the woman who ran it, I don't remember what her name was, but she was a bit of a madam and a bit of a vegetarian, like mystic kook who kind of mother henned everybody. But so there were like, I don't know, 15 mattresses on the ground, and people would just crash on the mattresses when they wanted to sleep and then get up and go train, and nobody worked. And she would cook food for them, but it would all be vegetarian. So they would all eat at this one restaurant, all you could eat place, in order to get their meat every day. It was a very, very different time. But so this was like a flap house, and it was all dudes who were like, it was a lot of really sweaty dudes in a room. A lot of very sweaty dudes in a room. It was a very Smurfs type situation.
I'll see if we can find out a little bit more about it, and we can bring it up maybe like next episode. But
there was a funny quote where Dave Draper was saying that, like, it's because they picked him. They used to pick you up at the bus station or whatever if they knew a bodybuilder was coming into town. Somebody would go and pick you up at this train at the bus station or wherever, and then take you to the gym and take you to eat, like take you to go find an apartment. Like they would actually do that. And so Dave Draper got taken to the Muscle House by the Sea. And he took one look at all these dudes laying on these filthy mattresses on the ground, and he was like, "No, I'm not going to fucking do that." And he asked Joe Weider if he could just sleep in his office, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, until you find an apartment." So, because he was like, "I'm not fucking doing that." Yeah.
No wonder Grimkowski parked himself under the bridge then. But where's Bubble Gut to win the Mr. Olympia? Phil Heath? Phil had a problem with the stomach there for a while. I don't know.
I mean, but who would you pick that didn't have a fucking bubble gut by then? Like, everybody
Dorian,
looked like shit by then.
It's kind of reined itself back in a little bit, which is good, because I think Arnold putting pressure on the guys to pull their stomachs in got them basically back, there. But yeah, the proportions are still wrong. They're just, and I know I'm going to sound ridiculous saying this, but they're just too fucking big. Like, that's just the matter of it. Any exceptionally smart or high IQ bodybuilders? Well, I think Arnold's probably up there, but Nasser definitely. I think Dorian probably not book smart, but Dorian kind of had his own sense of logic about him. I think Shawn Ray as well. A lot of them were quite highly educated back then as well. They had to have other things because bodybuilding didn't pay the bills.
No. I mean, you'd had to get a bunch of Jesus Christ, I'm like running out of words. I guess it's late, but he had a bunch of sponsorships. So he could not, unless you had all these sponsorships from different places, you couldn't really support yourself as a bodybuilder. But now they just hook themselves up to drugs in a hotel in Dubai.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And plus the angles of making money is a lot more open these days with social media. They can do, anything and everything without having to split it with middlemen. Did you want to move on to the topic? Because this one is probably quite popular.
Sure, but I would like to do female bodybuilders maybe next week, because that's a whole topic in and of itself. Like, it's a mess. Female
bodybuilding. And I would like to, maybe we can actually get on a call with Randy Roach and discuss that a little bit more, Jamie, because he's written a whole unpublished ebook on female bodybuilding as it was back in the 80s and 90s. So, it would be cool to talk to an actual female bodybuilder. Like, I could
Maybe get Carol on, or maybe Ann Sheehan or somebody. Somebody who could talk about it from the inside, because it sucks. Like, it seems to suck from every direction. They just seem so unhappy, and people make them even more unhappy by, like, the whole thing is just awful. I wish that there was some way to. I don't even know what to do with it. Honestly, it's just seems like a way to give people eating disorders and body dysmorphia. But I guess you could say that about any part of bodybuilding.
Yeah, they're definitely not doing it for the money or the star appeal, because there's no transition for the women. Like, they're not going to go into movies or advertising. What do you think if Nick Walker won this year's Olympia? I don't think Jamie even knows who Nick Walker would be.
I have no idea who he is.
There's no chance.
I've heard his name
with an Olympia. I might have to eat my words, but I don't think Nick's ever going to be up there. Justin Compton. Yeah. Thoughts on Zane? We talked about him in the last show.
I'm not a fan. I've never been a fan. Ever. Never once. Not even Justin for a minute. Compton, not even if there was a fire.
Yeah. Justin Compton was a flash in the pan. He was like had that perennial white guy syndrome where they load up on a ton of drugs very early and then they burn out twice as fast.
Sam Sulek, what?
Sam Sulek. This is Justin Compton.
No. I thought you were making a prediction about Sam Sulek.
No, Sam Sulek. Yeah, he's going to be the next example of that. But let's get off the next topic, mate. Because people are actually kind of quite eager to find out. Like, if there's just been this question in a lot of the podcasts. They've been interviewing C-Bum and Ryan Terry, and these are guys that go into mainstream podcasts, and they said that if you had 10 exercises that you had to do for the rest of your life to the exclusion of everything else to put on or to keep as much muscle as humanly possible, what would your top 10 be?
It's such a stupid question. I would like to just start by saying that. It's such a profoundly stupid question. And somebody made a guess in the comments when I posted about this earlier. And it was a really good guess, because it was like a guess of like what I would have said in like 2014. Like, it was exactly what I would have said in 2014. But in 2024, I trained very differently, because I came to the realization training the way I had was giving me a lot of, it just keeps shortening your range of motion until your range of motion is so short that everything hurts all the time. So you have to increase your range of motion. So here are my 10. I'm just doing this on the fly. Front squat, but full ass to grass front squat. Now here is how I do it, because everybody's seen videos of me doing those super wide, old school front squats. But now I'm doing front squats on 5-pound plates, just in my like regular sneakers. I don't change clothes hardly at all. But and then I put my heels on those, so the plates are together. So that's how close my stance is, like Olympic weightlifter close. And then I either front squat or back squat with like a very upright posture. And I really breathe into it to, I guess it's a breathing squat, but I just do it to like help with, it just helps you breathe. Cause I felt like I couldn't fucking breathe. I thought I had asthma and all kinds of shit. And, Jamie's current training advice is both fun and annoyingly well balanced. And yeah, I guess so. But that, I guess, is me. But anyway, so front squat, but full ass to grass front squat. And I breathe into them, but not always. So, yeah, you can still move a shitload of weight. And let me just say that when you bounce the weight, when you bounce your ass off your heels and get a front squat, you feel like a fucking hoss. It wasn't like a trial of Hercules to fucking get the weight down and get it kind of stopped and then kind of eke it back up. You just fucking moved weight. And like, you feel like you moved weight. Even when it's not that much weight, you still, that's still weight on your back. And the only time that it matters is when you're talking to people on the internet. Fuck those people. Fuck them, because they look like shit. Just keep doing, like, actually do the full exercise. I'm saying this specifically because I said the opposite for so long and I was wrong. And I actually saw that I may have been wrong partially about Pendlay rows, because Glenn and I were always drunk when we were talking. And I saw a comment that he left on one of my things I'm going to have to investigate further. But in any event, Yeah, so I've been wrong in the past, and this is one of those things. Full range of motion. Front squat, I very, very much like doing a compound exercise, which is a stiff-legged deadlift with your heels together and your toes pointed out at like a 45-degree angle. So, and you lock out your knees. So you're not, again, trying not to move weight. The point is actually stretching the fucking shit out of your hamstrings and setting your weight on your heels. So you're really like putting it through your posterior chain. And it's not a matter of trying to lever a weight up like you're doing you're a fucking Russian trying to impress everybody with your 2-inch fucking sumo deadlift, like actually moving a weight. So you're doing a stiff-legged deadlift to a front raise or to an upright row. Either way, it just like the motion feels good because you just do it at a steady pace, and like the actual just motion of doing it all at once feels great. So oftentimes, and I know this sounds very old timey and weird, but I will, with a close grip on the bar, on a 45-pound barbell, just do a stiff-legged deadlift to it's a front raise, but to overhead. So you go like from once you get to the waist, then you just kind of, I like to flex into it because I'm trying to get all my muscles into the right spots rather than all jammed into our armpits. We all have like these weird fat armpits. Even bodybuilders have them now. You see, they have no serratus, and it's because we are not fucking training it. So getting to the next thing, first you got to do the overhead front raises. Then you don't have to do that close. I'm just trying not to knock anything over on my desk. But the next thing is pullovers. Everybody needs to be doing pullovers. This isn't an exercise where you're trying to move the most weight. If you read the old school guys really treated this, it was for like overall upper body health. So it's not about what exercise works what muscle. This is a rotational movement. You're supposed to do this in real life, and we never ever ever do it in the gym. And it's something you need to do because this is why we have no serratus, why our shoulders hurt, why we can't move our scapula back and forth, which I can do now. I can touch my elbows together. I don't know if any of you can do this, but can you do that? I never could do it before.
What are we doing? Putting our elbows together?
Yeah, I could never do that before.
Yeah.
No, you can't. Yeah. So, I mean, but now I'm able to do it. And like shit like that is, so pullovers. And I really I know this is a messy list, but I'm a messy writer. So this is how I talk. Anyway, so I love doing pullover and presses, but I recommend to you guys that you start with a straight bar pullover on the ground and start with the little baby bar. And I'm not going to call it the bitch bar anymore because the little baby bar is a very necessary thing. And I'll get to the next exercise, which is going to melt your minds because it's so old school and amazing. Use a little baby bar, lay on the ground, and get your arms as straight as fucking possible. Because I bet a lot of you can't lock your arms out because we've been doing these short reps. And the short reps make it so you cannot lock your arms out. This is a fucking problem. It's why your hands go numb at night. If your hands go numb at night, this is part of the problem. It's because these knots in your elbows and your forearms and your fucking hands that have formed over time from doing these short little motions with tons of weight. So we're basically forcing our body into an extreme position and forcing it to hold a little weight for a short period of time. And then we get to the point where we can't actually move through anything. And so start with a straight bar laying on the ground, do a pullover to your chest and just hold the bar overhead and just hold it over your chest and then take it back down to the ground and work that range of motion. Let the bar rest on the ground. It hurts like a fucking bastard. But so you this is something you need to do. Once you can do that, once you can do a set of like, say 3 sets of 10 of just straight arm, straight bar pullovers, then start pulling them to your lap on the ground and then back down to the ground. So you're doing like 180-degree motion with the barbell. Fucking Ben, I'm going to kill you. You're driving me crazy. I'm already distracted. All right. So, you're doing pullovers right now. That's awesome. So once you can do that, then I would graduate to pullover and press, which is my favorite exercise of late. I really, really love pullover and presses. Steve Stanko was apparently able to do a bent arm pullover and press. He pulled the bar from the ground on like laying on a bench, 300. He would pull it over, press it, take it back down, pull it over, press it, maybe do a third one, call it a day. I cannot fucking believe this because I have now been doing pullovers with the straight bar and trying to do bent arm pullovers. I'm up to 135 for 2, and it feels like I'm tearing my whole upper body apart. So I just back it back down because I really am focusing on the reps and the motion, which your ego takes a pounding when you're going to do this, but your body will feel so much better. You'll stop giving a fuck very quickly. And I mean that very sincerely. It hurts the first couple of weeks when you're like, all right, I'm not going to fucking do a third of a squat with 405. I'm actually going to do 10 squats with 135. It beats your ego up because you'll realize how fucking out of shape you are. And then you'll start to realize that third of a squat doesn't really matter. But the traps were from shrugs. I just did shrugs like twice a week for years and years. It was stupid. They're much smaller than they were. They were absurd. They were choking me. It was stupid. But so where was I? So pullover and press. The next one, broomstick twists. Like, do you remember broomstick twists? Like, yeah. So you just put a bar on your back and you just twist back and forth.
No one does them anymore.
I do them now because guess what? Twisting feels really good. You'll crack your back, and then you'll start to realize, oh my God, I couldn't move at all. Like I could not turn my head. So now I can turn my head, but like, it was absurd. I couldn't move my head at all. I couldn't move my shoulders up and down. If I did, I would choke myself. It was terrible. Like I couldn't breathe. It was awful. But yeah, so the pullovers have really helped with that. I feel good now. I ran into somebody the other day who asked me what hurts on me because he had read my stuff for years. And I was like, nothing hurts. It used to be my knees hurt, this hurt, that hurt, my hand hurt. Sometimes my hand still wakes me up because like I said, I'm not all the way there yet. But I'm getting there. So, and the interim process doesn't look great and I'm very self-conscious. But it, I guess we have to be kinder to ourselves. Anyway, I don't even know how many exercises that is. Oh, incline. Everybody needs to be doing incline curls. Stop doing any other kind of curl. Like we've done enough other kinds of curls. Incline curls. You need to stretch the fucking shit out of your shoulders. Let you just use 20s or 25s. Don't go crazy with the weight and do both hands at the same time. So you get a stretch. And really like flatten your back on the thing and let your shoulders hang for a little while to start the set. Then bang out as many reps as you can. Let your arms hang. It hurts like a fucking bastard. But it's like starting to get like some of that separation I never had between my pec and my delt. And so thank you. Thank you, Osich. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. But we can do Vince Garanda in another episode. Also, sit-ups. Yes, I've been doing sit-ups again. I love sit-ups again. I've ditched the ab wheel. It's really more of a strength flex than it is an exercise. Like we're out of shape because we don't do enough reps. I've been doing twisting sit-ups like a motherfucker because I'm trying to get obliques. Like I want to have a small fucking waist. I really want to look like Jim Hayslop and like a Don Howarth. Like those two guys I look at and I'm like, that's where I want to be. Tony Pearson.
I think that's about 7. You got a couple more, mate.
French presses, overhead barbell extensions. That everybody needs to be doing those. Stop doing push downs. That's why all of our triceps are up here rather than down here. And it's why you end up tearing stuff. I know, because I've torn stuff. So I'm trying to undo the. Do not do the dumbbell. So again, with the pullovers, use a barbell, not a dumbbell. Use the barbell. Trust me, you need to have that your shoulders, your hands separated from each other in order to balance and also stretch. Because the pullover isn't just for the rotational movement. Our armpits are, like I said, are all like jammed up, and you need to be able to pull your arms out and down. And like, you should be able to bench with your arms basically in any position and be able to like move around. Like you should be able to sit in a third world squat. That's how people shit in most of the world. And most of us, like, I couldn't even breathe if I tried to get into a position like that. Never mind get into it. Like, even when I was like 165 pounds when I was in China, I had to hold on to a pipe because I couldn't sit in the third world squat. So
how about something for the shoulders? I think you've missed that one.
The thing that I'm doing now is overhead laterals, and I've been doing the old school exercises, the 19th century ones that you can read about in Kings of Strength. David Chapman did a phenomenal job translating that book. The pictures are amazing, but if you look at those old school lifters, they had really long biceps. They went down to their forearms. They had huge forearms. They had beautiful shoulders, and people go, well, why the fuck didn't they have big pecs? Because they didn't give a fuck about pecs. It's like now, like, nobody gives a fuck what they look like. They're like, oh, he's the biggest and the leanest, I guess he wins. It's like they're judging cattle. But back then, they wanted to be able to, like, they wanted them to look beautiful and lift beautifully, and their physiques reflected that. So I've been doing a lot of arm extensions, holding my arm out with weight and doing it like that. And I do overhead laterals. I start every workout now with 10-pound weights, just going like this and doing shit like that and twisting them and going overhead, like, because I couldn't do that before. Yeah, barbell pull over and press. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing for shoulders like crazy lately, and my shoulders feel good. Plus, I can roll them and shit, and like I can reach for stuff. Like I still can't extend this arm quite all the way yet, but I'm getting there. And but I couldn't hardly extend it at all. And when I did, I had to, like, had to bend my arm at a certain weird angle, so it was bent like this, and then I had to reach for stuff like by just kind of getting up on my tippy toes. Like I was stuck like this, and it was really fucked up. We're probably gonna have to cover that in a separate episode, right?
Yeah, you were a high school wrestler back in the day, weren't you?
I wrestled in college a little bit too, and then I did some MMA and JKD and other shit.
I think you got one more exercise that had to round out that 10.
Let's see, to make an essential.
Anything for hamstrings?
Yeah, that's where I was going to come in for hamstrings, and it hits calves too. And this is not going to be a popular one, but we should all be doing it because we're all fat shits. Kettlebell swing. Everybody needs to be touching a kettlebell every time they go into a gym. And I know that sounds ridiculous because I always said, what the fuck are we doing with these kettlebells? It's stupid. But historically, it's how people got jacked. And like holding a kettlebell at arm's length is very different than holding a dumbbell of the same weight. And there's physics behind it. I don't have the degrees in order to explain it to you, but when I say that it's very different, I mean catastrophically different. So doing shit like that is way harder. I was
going to say, good question about the chin-ups and pull-ups. You talked a lot about them before. Are you still incorporating a lot of chin-ups and pull-ups?
So lifting is a series of specializations, and right now I'm really not doing any back because I do back, but I do a lot of like hammer strength shit where I'm trying to stretch my arms so I can, because I couldn't grab on an underhand grip before. So I'm like trying to stretch my forearms and like still stretch out my triceps and things like that. So I'm not doing any pull-ups really. I do some ring pull-ups because again, I'm working on the stretch and things like that. But I really don't do a whole lot of back at the moment because I've done so much fucking back work in my life, so many thousands and millions of pull-ups that like, if I never do a fucking pull-up again in my life, I'll still have the broadest back you guys ever saw in your fucking life in person. And it's just because I'm short as shit, but I'm wide as fucking hell. I look like a fucking flying squirrel. So my lats aren't going anywhere. But yeah, if I'm recommending an exercise to somebody, I mean, I wouldn't put that in a list of barbell exercises because I think everybody should be doing push-ups and pull-ups every single day of their life, regardless. Right now, I've been working on push-ups because I couldn't do them. My hands were so fucked up and knotted up that putting my palms on the ground hurt. And also I couldn't make my shoulders work with it. So I was doing them on my knuckles, but my hands are so fucked up from fighting so much that I couldn't really do them on my knuckles. It just was killing me. So then I just stopped doing them. And now I'm back to doing diamond push-ups. I just drop and do like 5 or 10 periodically throughout the day. And I know it sounds like very little work, but if you go and try to do a diamond push-up right now and you're not a calisthenics guy, I guarantee you it's going to be way harder than it should be. And again, it's just because we've been doing the same exercises over and over and over, and you got to do something else. Like I'll be dead honest. I squat like once every 3 weeks to 5 weeks. I genuinely don't give a fuck about it. Like, because I squatted so much in my life that if I want to get back in shape for squatting, it'll take 4 weeks. And I'll be front squatting. Then I'll be front squatting with phenomenal form, like 405 for reps. But right now I just like do 225 for a few sets of 10 here and there and call it a day. Diamond push-ups are my favorite variation because of the stretch and because it's Chef Russia's favorite kind of push-up, and that guy has 22-inch arms and knows what he's fucking talking about. So who's also the coolest fucking guy I've ever met in my life. Chef Russia is awesome.
So it might have been a dumb question, Jamie, asking you for your top 10, but I think a lot of people can get some benefit in hearing about some of the stuff that you recommend. And man, like hearing you speak about it and opening up the endless list of possibilities that people could kind of zero in on to do stuff that's different. I mean, that's an idea for a book or a great article right there, that basically what you've talked about. So I still think that maybe we should revise, because people kind of like, when people in the comments have sort of said to me, oh, Jamie goes back on a lot of what he said in the past. I said, yeah, well, that's called kind of intellectual growth. So
yeah. Oh, and I apologized. I mean, I've been learning with you guys. I did the best I fucking, trust me, I researched everything exhaustively that I ever said. And I went on anecdotal evidence and whatever bullshit science I could I just threw the science in there because I was like, if you guys want it, there it is. Like, but I was really going on what I saw happening and what I thought was right. It's just that when you're younger, you don't know what the cumulative effects of doing the wrong thing are going to be until 20 years down the road. And so doing the wrong thing for 20 years fucked me up. And people think that it's heavy lifting that fucks them up. And it's not the weight that they're lifting. Because John Grimmick was still squatting 700 pounds and is like 70 when he was 70, I think. Like it's the way that you're lifting and it's the exercise choice. And so that's why I've been looking into these old school exercises, because I'm looking at these old school lifters going, well, why don't I look like that? Like, and I've always said that, like, and that's why I excused my own shitty physique with Roland Sherlock. Cause I was like, well, I guess I don't have to look, because he fucking gave up too. And like, then you saw people's arms getting shittier and their torsos getting bigger. And it was like, everybody fucking gave up trying to figure it out. So I've been trying to figure it out, and I finally did. So here we go.
And I think it's part of the evolution of being a lifelong lifter as well, because if you lock yourself into a very narrow scope or a dogma, like a lot of these HIT guys do, or even like these religious zealots when it comes to nutrition, for example.
It's the same exact thing. It's the same as religion.
And it also speaks to, like some of the questions that I asked you and Connor before in regards to looking back, the importance of looking back to the past for clues of what worked before steroids muddied the waters. And
yes. I'm not claiming I have been natty for over a year again, and I've been off and on natty throughout the years, but I was natty until I was like, I took some gray market supplements at like 32, but it didn't go heavy at them till like 36 was around that. Like 35 was around when I really like, and then it was still only like a gram of shit a week. It wasn't like for a couple of weeks before the show or the meet. Like that was the only time you really like ramped it up. So
yeah. And I was going to ask you about that, because your goal, like you said in the last episode, is you want to get back to doing your original world record lifts at your now I'm polite enough to say it, your advanced age, because I'm up there as well.
I'm old. I'm fucking old.
Are you going to do it natty, or are you going to go back to using supplements here and there?
No. When I say I want to do it, I want to do a close stance, high bar, full ass to grass squat with 650. I want to do the prettiest, flat-backed, straight-legged fucking bench press with 385 or whatever it was I did. I mean, it was easy. It will be easy because I've done so much more than that in the gym. It was just, I've not been a good bencher in meets. But so it's, I just want to do that. And the deadlift, I want to do, I don't know how I'll do that one, but there'll definitely be a dance routine involved in that one. And I'll probably do it as a Taylor Swift or some shit just to piss people off. But yeah, to make fun of all that fucking hailing Crom and all that fucking stupid shit that Dan Green started. And we were sitting there like, what is he gonna fucking, what is happening? What is going on? It was so weird when he started doing it, and now everybody does.
Those powerlifting meets are painful to watch enough or probably to attend as it is, without all those people doing the histrionics before they do their lifts. Quick question there about neck lifts. Neck bridges.
I'm trying to get back to doing neck bridges. I had a bunch of injuries that my neck was really like locked in place. So I've only tried, like, that's why I have these lines around my face. Like, they've changed over time. If you look at pictures, it's because I'm literally like peeling my chin out of my neck. It's weird as fuck. Anyway, that's why I always have a shirt on. The whole thing's weird. It's weird, and I don't even know how the fuck I figured it out. But so I was basically encased in all these knots. I once drunkenly flipped a car and without a seatbelt on, end over end, like the front over the back, and I was driving a Mazda Speed 3. I was going very fast. I lived through it, and then I fought a bunch of people who were trying to take my wallet afterwards. So, but my neck was just like locked to my head and my shoulders with knots. And football and all kinds of shit. Like, I had just gotten constant injuries to my neck and trained through it and like built neck on top of that. So I'm almost back to where I can do a neck bridge, but it almost like training traps used to make me it'd give me a horrible migraine. And then I would drink horribly to get rid of the migraine, which just turned into a lot of drinking, and it was a mess. But so that's why I've been trying to undo all the shit that I did, and that's why I'm apologizing, because I turned into a drunken. I was in so much pain all the fucking time. I was just drunk all the time trying to get, like, it was awful. So I'm just trying to help you guys, and also, like, I want everybody to like look as good as these old school guys. Like, doesn't everybody want to look that good? I don't want to have this weird fucking pec shit. I want to have good pecs. I don't want to be like Jim Stoppani, always posing like this. Like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to have these old school pecs, these high pecs, and like good abs and a tiny waist. So,
yeah, do you get that kind of, I don't know, as a tar where it's almost like that Neanderthal look where the traps push the neck forward and you have like that kind of bad posture? I have it really badly. Like, my posture is really bad. It's something I've tried to correct, but I've never been able to really do it because my traps push my head forward as well.
I've always had I've had obsessively correct posture. This is really difficult for me to lean into this mic like this and try to look into the camera at the same time. But and that was another. So the way that I figured out this weird knotting problem that I have was because I had this every time I would do overhead presses, because I was really going crazy with trying to strict press crazy weights. And it would feel like I was getting fucking stabbed. Like, my abs felt like they were tearing every time that I lifted. And I have very odd looking abs, and I never knew why. And I had like this squishy part in the center, and it's a fucking knot. And I never knew that. And it started in my solar plexus, went up into my neck. And so this knot is something that I've been battling the entire fucking time, but it made it impossible for me to do anything that wasn't be very upright. It kept me locked in place at all times, like my Iron Man badge. So that's how I never injured myself at all doing all the dumb shit that I did. It was physically impossible for me to move.
Yeah, well, the great thing about it now is, like you said, you've been putting out some new information with all your recent ideas and thoughts. And if you want to get your hands on some of this information, you know, in hard copy form, go and check out Jamie's books, particularly like the calisthenics one that he's talked about. I really think you need to redo maybe Issuance of Insanity then, if you've got like all these new thoughts. So
like I said earlier, I'm trying to be kinder to myself. You can't imagine how much I hate any version of me that was from 2024.
Yeah.
Well, like I hate the old me. So it's hard for me to go back into that shit. And I was such an asshole.
Just rewrite it. Just rewrite it with your current thoughts and philosophy.
I was.
You don't even have to go into it.
Yeah, I mean, when I get the time, I mean, right now I'm just writing for my life every day.
What you should just do is, I'll sit by the keyboard. You can dictate it to me because you speak almost as well as you write, and I'll just put it down and copy it, and then we'll just put it out there.
But Greta and I are doing a steroids book, so that is we're gonna do that. She's written a cookbook before, and I already wrote the steroid series. So, but she was reading through it, and she was like, "What was happening with you when you were writing this last week?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's like the compilation of 20 years of writing over time." And she was like, "Oh, holy shit, Jesus Christ! All right, well, yeah, I'm glad you're here because fuck that guy." And I was like, "Yep, yeah, I was a dick."
Yeah, but you also got to kind of admit that that's what attracted a lot of your initial fan base to you. And I know your fan base is exploding and growing now. And if you haven't added Jamie on Plague of Strength on Instagram, make sure you go over there because he posts daily about all of these excellent ideas and lifters that you might not have ever heard of before. So it's probably one of the premier or the best accounts on Instagram that you could ever check out. And Jamie puts a lot of work into it. So make sure you check that out because you can stay up to date with everything that goes through Jamie's mind on the daily. So anything else you want to talk about before we sign off? Because it's been a particularly long one today. Sorry.
It has. Yeah. Holy shit. We started at 7. Damn.
Yeah. But I'm not passing out anymore. So I'm just kind of getting that stride.
Well, yo, my new ebook, Huge Natty Arms, is out. And I know you've asked for me for a distillation of that. But for now, it is a 60-page ebook that has the ways that every one of the best bicep people I could find of the pre-steroid era, like how they built these arms. So, because I didn't, like you said, steroids muddy the water. So you don't know what works, what doesn't. So I went before then, took the people who built 20-inch arms cold, 19-inch arms cold. You could just walk up to these people any day of the week and be like, measure your arm. And it'd be 18 inches at 180 pounds and beautiful. And so I compiled the best of these into one book because I want everybody to have we deserve pretty fucking arms, don't we? And everybody, even Chris Bumstead, his arms look like shit. Jay Cutler's arms look like shit. They all look like shit. So I'm just trying to get back. I want us all to progress together and grow together. And the only thing I could do is admit where I've been wrong in the past and try to move forward from there. And focusing on power over aesthetics really fucks you up over time. And also you look like shit. So let's not look like these fucking grumpy old men with these weird puffy faces and shit and still look like athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And what I really liked about the books that I got, the Huge Natty Arms book that I took away from is, we always sort of thought that good arms, you either had them or you didn't. But these guys sort of show you that, just through hard, consistent volume-based training, you can definitely build or take your arms from 0 to hero very quickly. But another good thing I really liked about it was you get very granular about the development of steroids and PEDs over time as well, because not a lot of people have a comprehensive timeline for that. And you've included that in the book. So that gives people a lot of context for the discussion that kind of comes after that. And another thing I really liked about it as well is that even though you're not very prescriptive in it, you can read through each individual lifter's story and their workout routine, and you can start to very clearly identify the trends of what works for arm training based on the compilation of all the guys in that book.
And that's so the Gold's Gym Book of Bodybuilding that I always talk about, that was my fucking Bible. So this is where I'm trying to show you guys where I learned the stuff that I learned and show you how I learned so that you can kind of do the same thing yourself. Because if you look at how these people did it and you can see the commonalities, that's where the truth lies. That's where you need to go. So, and that's why I always laugh at these fucking sports scientists, because they start with incorrect ideas and then they try to extrapolate useful information from them. And it's you don't know what the fuck you're talking about in the first place. So
it's the ministry of misinformation, those guys, and then they double down on it and it becomes its own perpetuating meme and just, drowns out all the other good ideas. But that's a good point there. If you want to get in shape and, maybe hook up with Jamie as a coach. I also offer a coaching service for anybody out there that wants
There you go.
Maybe get some advice and some accountability going. But we really want to thank everybody. Thanks for saying that we're guns, but
if you guys happen to grab 12 Days of Axmas, the ebook that came out before the Natty Guns book or the Natty Arms book, you'll see what I was just talking about, the 10 exercises. Like, I'm writing this shit as I'm figuring it out myself. I don't talk about it while I'm figuring it out. Once I've started to figure it out, or once I got it figured out, but I'm getting to where I can present it, that's where I'm telling you guys, like, this is what you got to do. So, like, if you look at these books, I'm not telling you this shit. I'm not just making it up. I'm giving you the best fucking thing I could possibly give you at any given time, because that's all I fucking do, and that's all I've ever done. Like, I only give you the best fucking shit that there is. That's it. Because I don't give a fuck about the rest. Who fucking cares? Like, nobody gives a shit about the other stuff. Like, let's do what fucking makes sense. And this is what makes sense. I swear to God. So.
Yeah, so once again, I encourage everybody to go and check out Jamie's books. Go to his site. The link tree there has them all available. Thanks so much again for joining us, everybody, with the questions and your comments. We really love the interactive nature of doing these. It makes it so much better than just a regular podcast, I think, a lot of the time. Jamie,
do you want to try to do these every Friday? Because I thought if we did it every Friday, people would probably watch.
Yeah, I'm good with this time because I'm awake. Because on Wednesday nights, I'm literally I'm mentally checked out and non-coherent. Like, I sound like a blubbering idiot a lot of the time on the Wednesdays because I'm just asleep. So This might be the new time if people don't mind. But thanks again, everybody.
We'll actually start this one at 8 rather than 7. But I swear to God, you said 7. So
I did. Yeah, I'm fucking terrible with maths and time. So,
but yeah. So thank you guys.
Everybody.
Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. And have a good one. See ya.
Have a great night, guys. Have a great weekend.